So here we are on Friday afternoon, a little bit later than normal, but we were both busy men, myself and Pat McGart. Wouldn't that be true, Pat? Wouldn't you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Men
For a person who's not how to do, I find myself doing a lot. But there you go.
Retirement is a terrible state to be in. You really need to have a sub branch of deep retirement.
I really need to retire so that I can enjoy my retirement.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's get cracking then with the stories of the week. And one that stands out is one that features Doug Beattie. And you have a thing or two to say about him and his attitude to a number of things.
Jude, I know I was watching Doug Beattie last night on The View, and Jude, I came to the conclusion Doug is a man who wants to reach out, but can't reach out. He wants to be a liberal, but is scared to say he's going to be a liberal. And he wants to sort of Northern Ireland to sort of remain very British, but he doesn't know how he's going to achieve that. Basically, Jude, I was sitting watching him, I thought, basically what Doug wants to do, he wants Northern Ireland to be sort of a liberal place, but he's scared about, the horses, scaring the horses. And that's really what it's all about. He would like to be, I think he would quite willingly reach a compromise on the protocol. I think he would be amenable to an act na Gaeilge if it was done in the right way. And I also think that he would reach some agreement. I genuinely believe the man is trying to be a Democrat, but he won't say that he would serve as Deputy First Minister if it came about. And the thought occurs to me that the whole Susan McKay had a very good article earlier this week in The Guardian where she said unionism is on the back foot and the DUP in particular haven't a clue what way they're going. But it's true of nearly everybody in Northern Ireland on the unionist side. Jamie Bryson and what do you call him, Jim Allister seem to be calling the shots now.
But shouldn't the fact that DUP are having a hard time, shouldn't that be something that would be to the benefit of the UUP?
No, they're almost as confused as I am about it. I'm not sure whether Doug wants to jump to the left towards the Alliance, the middle of the road, or jump to the right towards TV and the DUP. And he genuinely doesn't know.
Yeah, there was a report done on him, the launch of his campaign, and it was done in front of a battleship. I thought it was very weird. It's hard to know whether he was saying he was threatening us with violence, or was he saying this is nostalgia or what? But in that video, he looked, dare I say, he looked a wee bit like King Lear, because there was a wind blowing and his hair was all over the place and he was sort of kind of wild-eyed looking. I guess he was sort of struggling with the elements at the time. But what he said was, there will not be a united Ireland in my lifetime. There will not be a united Ireland in my children's lifetime. So let's put that aside and deal with things that really matter. I just thought, there's a man, either he doesn't believe that, in which case he's telling a lie, or else he does believe it and he's seriously duped. I mean, what on earth does he think? Does he believe that those who believe in a united Ireland are going to set that aside and just say, well, that's okay, it's not going to happen? I mean, the chances of it happening in his lifetime, I would say, are pretty high. And certainly in his children's lifetime, except they're very poor health, and then I would be surprised if it wouldn't happen in their lifetime. But it's that kind of, I think he did a big favour for Sinn Féin and for the SDLP by that launch, because he presented what is normally the sort of acceptable face of unionism and presented it as being totally unreasonable. It was saying... But
that's the point. I find Doug totally confusing. I think he tries to play this liberal thing, and I think he genuinely, and some of the things he come out of, is absolutely trying to be like that. But then he comes out with this absolute rubbish that not only will it not be in my lifetime, but it won't be in my children's lifetime. And you're going, there he's trying now to placate the hard line and to say, I am not soft on the union. Like I know people are saying that because I am a liberal and I'm reaching out, that I am soft on the union. No, I am not. It's pathetic.
Well, he's been told, you see, two ways. He on the one hand, he can't afford to be seen as being soft on the border or anything like that,
or the protocol,
or United Ireland or anything. He's got to be a hard right, really. But at the same time, he's got to look as someone who is appealing, while a unionist, will be appealing to people who might otherwise vote for Alliance. So he's trying to do two things that are quite different at the same time.
He's trying to do about three things, never mind two. I think he's like that Janus figure. Only thing he's rather than having two heads, he's got four.
Yeah. Somebody said that, you know, when he came in first, the UUP really got a bounce from him.
A Beattie bounce.
A Beattie bounce. So right up there. Weren't they at one point ahead of the DUP?
They were
third or fourth or something.
Yeah. They really
but that bounce, the bounce has gone out of Doug, and I think Doug's aware of that. And he just, in his heart, he knows they're going to have a bad election. The guy who was reporting that, I forgot his name there.
Well, I think the point I'm trying to make in all this, they always shift back to the same position when an election comes along. They can be, the unionist leaders can be as liberal as you like, and then suddenly when the weapon of the crutch is, they revert to type.
But you see, that's to the advantage of SDLP and particularly Sinn Féin.
Absolutely.
But here you have the best that unionism can produce, you know, soft unionism, and here it is. It's as hard as a rock. I would think
every time.
I'm surprised. I watched the online. Maybe it was on the TV as well, but online I watched part of the launch of the Sinn Féin election campaign. And Mary Lou talked for some time, and then Michelle O'Neill was speaking, and I'm not sure somebody else was talking. But they didn't push very hard at all about, well, they did talk about a new Ireland, they did talk a bit about United Ireland, but again, like in the South, they were putting a lot of emphasis on the economy, people's jobs, the cost of living, you know, the way it's spiraling out of control, how Sinn Féin will have to, you know, be there to help people who are in need. The emphasis was on bread and butter issues, while at the same time, just reminding people that they were the United Ireland Party. I was surprised they didn't have a dig at. I'm not sure. Wonder what was the sequence of time? Did the UUP launch precede that of Sinn Féin, or were they Sinn Féin before them?
Jude, I can't answer that. I don't know.
Because if Doug Beattie did his launch before that, I'm amazed that they didn't say something about that. That here was a man, a supposedly moderate unionist, who was saying, "Look, it's not going to happen in my lifetime, nor my children's lifetime. Shove that aside. It's a distraction."
But Jane, when you think about that, to follow on from you, like for Doug to come out with that line, Jude, there's a fair possibility that United Ireland could happen in Doug's lifetime. Never mind his children's.
Oh, yes, definitely. Well, I mean, we were sure
we were talking about
modern. We were talking about modern man the other day. Paul Gosling had said, you know, you could well have the poll in, say, 5 years, and you then, within another 10-year period, you could have the actual fleshing out of that, and maybe a second poll to confirm it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we'd hope Doug would last for another 15 years at least. You know, although he didn't look too happy. I'm not sure he looked all that healthy at his launch, as I say. He looked a bit like King Lear to me.
Yeah.
Okay, let's, well, that's a sort of a sad situation. What about did you see, I presume that the SDLP have launched their campaign. Have you seen that, or?
No, I haven't. No, it was Doug's campaign. Yeah, I was watching Doug last night, and that's what brought it to mind. And I thought, there's a part of Doug wants to reach out, and then there's a part of him, the minute he thinks, and he goes back into his corner, and I thought, Doug, you know that this is, and please don't take us the wrong way, I was slightly politically schizophrenic.
Exactly, yeah, schizophrenic, that's a word for it. Because there was a young woman who spoke after him, immediately after him, a UUP person, presumably an MLA, quite young, and she sounded very calm and measured and sensible, and she made Doug look a bit scattered and frenetic, and as you say, schizophrenic.
Politically, he can't sort of go throw out a line one way and then pull it back in and say, "Oh, I didn't mean that."
The opposite. Well, in a way, that's the horns of the dilemma he's now on.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's all good fun, because you see the emphasis that's going to be what line are the different parties going to take over the period of the next 3 weeks, and how that'll work out. I would say so far, Sinn Féin must be feeling very happy. If the DUP would now launch in a similar manner, and they almost certainly will, to that of the UUP, I would say Sinn Féin must be laughing all the way to the bank.
Yeah, and the political bank. And the other thing, Jude, see if it works out the way it does, and this is my last comment on it, I don't think we'll see Stormont returning.
No. Oh, somebody said that. Yes, I'm trying to think who said that. Maybe it was a commentator said that.
I'm not sure.
And they were on telly, and they were quite right too, I think. I mean, people are saying, look, this is nearly 25 years. And this place, all it keeps doing every time we put it up again, it falls apart again. You know, it's not worth it. And I think actually Sinn Féin's attention, despite the fact that they say they want to have Stormont up and running and so on, serving people, I think in their hearts, they are going to be wanting to put their energy into working for a border.
A bigger project.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And very sensibly too, in my opinion. Okay, you're not too pleased also, I see, with Boris Johnson, because you, like me, were watching Question Time a week ago. And on that, there was only one, it wasn't Boris Johnson on it, mind you. It was just one rather nice, mild, decent-looking man who I don't remember seeing before, but he was a Conservative representative. So over to you. What sort of reception did he get?
Jude, I was watching it last night. You were in your bed as usual. You go to bed early. I was sitting here at 10:30. There was a lady, a Conservative lady, whose name, Jude, I haven't a clue. Totally escapes me as we speak. But it was absolutely brilliant, riveting TV. She started to say that Boris, the idea of the whole Partygate was ridiculous type thing. I'm paraphrasing here, and that, you know, he has apologized and it's gone away. And like, look, it's time we moved on. And look, the 20 fixed penalty things have been given out. Boris is not one of them, and I'm sure he would inform the public if he was, and so on. And she absolutely refused to say that he should resign if he gets one, and so on, so on. But no, the thing is, Sir Jacob Rees-Mogg, who is, I think, the ultimate and caricature of, you know, a Looney Tune peer. But anyway, he said a couple of weeks ago that this was fluff. The whole thing about Partygate was nobody was interested, nobody cared. Watch Question Time last night, and there is a raging, boiling anger still about that. And when the lady from the Tory party started to give the fluff, you know, the absolute bullshit, that's really what you couldn't say it was anything else. They actually started to laugh, and it was derision. And Victoria Derbyshire, who was chairing it in a stand-in chair last night, she actually stopped. She's looked to the Tory MP lady. She's just listen to that. Those people are treating really what you're saying with contempt. I don't think she used the word contempt. I think she might have used the word derision. And she's, are you not worried about that, Jude? So the thought occurred to me, if a very conservative chair of a meeting like Question Time actually stopped and made that point, I wonder how much trouble Boris Johnson and the Tories are in if there's an election tomorrow.
Oh yeah, well, never mind an election tomorrow. I think that this Partygate's not going to go away. Even they have to wait 2 years for it. I think Boris is irredeemably wounded, and it's difficult to know what the Tories will do with him. Now, he's still a bubbly chap, but he's not as funny as he was anymore.
No.
You mentioned the fact that this sole representative of the Tories, this poor woman that was given that, everybody's laughing at her. But the reason I thought that was a week ago you were talking about, because a week ago,
last night.
A week ago, but on Question Time, the same program, they had one Tory MP, a man, an inoffensive-looking man, and he was trying to defend Boris for the decisions that he'd made and the lies that he'd told. And the audience, in the same way, were treating him with contempt. And I'm not sure now, but I have a notion that Fiona, whatever her name is, asked him, was he not a bit embarrassed by what was happening among the audience? Everybody in the audience, there were people in the audience saying, I voted Tory. I never, ever.
Jude, I saw that one. I saw the woman with the red jacket on.
That's right.
She said, I'm one of your supporters, but never again.
And it wasn't confined to her. It was right through the audience, virtually. I don't remember anybody standing up for him, really. Did anybody speak?
But here's a point I would make as well. They're sending out these people, the Tory party are sending out the woman last night I've never seen before. I presume they can't get a heavyweight, because anybody comes out to represent Boris and defend Boris, their career's over.
That's right. Well, it's sort of like putting your head over the parapet, You go first, you try it and see what happens.
Yeah, you go first. You go and see you defend them.
No, it's a long time since some real heavyweight was on the question time, and they're having a hard time. Let's go to a bit nearer to here, or near to home, and that's the Nolan show on television and on radio. You feel that the same thing's happening there, that we're not
Jude,
getting...
I read an article earlier this week, and I don't know how old the article was. And there was a guy on, I think he might have worked previously in advertising as a senior guy in advertising in Northern. I can't remember his name. Like, I'm useless at names, but he made a brilliant point. He said Nolan had turned Jim Allister and Jamie Bryson. He said Jim Allister is the leader of the TUV, a party of one. Yet he, in the space of about, 3 weeks or 2 weeks, Jim Allister was on 4 times on the Nolan show, which is the biggest show in the country according to Nolan, considering it's the only show in the north at that time. It's it's hard.
Not a country anyway.
But hold on, Judy, the simple point, it's the biggest show in the country. Jesus, it's the only show in the country. So it's like 1 out of 1, great. But anyway, the bottom line is your man made the point, and I thought it was a really interesting point. He said, these people have been given a platform by the Nolan show that's totally out of proportion to any democratic thing. Jamie Bryson has never been elected by anybody. Jim Allister had 2 or 3 other people stand. Nobody got elected himself. Yet they are almost leading unionism by the nose, thanks to the populism of the Nolan show. And that's
Can I demonstrate for a moment my knowledge of French? The French have a saying called faute de mieux, meaning for want of better. Yeah. And that's the reason Jim Allister and Jimmy Bryson are on the Nolan show. It's because they can't get anybody else. Sinn Féin essentially have blacklisted them. They simply won't go on. When's the last time you saw a Sinn Féin man or woman on Nolan show? Likewise, the DUP are shunning Nolan. So he's in a pretty nasty pickle. The 2 biggest parties in the state being...
you said it, the state.
I said the state. refusing to actually come on. He has to do something. Now, you got to hand it to Jim Allister. He doesn't miss and hit the wall. You can be sure he'll come out with something fairly extreme and hard line. And the same thing goes for Jimmy Bryson. So, media like that kind of thing. They don't like reasonable people who say, on the one hand, on the other hand. They want people to come right out and, with boots and elbows.
But hold on, Jude. Here's the thing. That's okay. Fox News, in America, there's no longer the rule of fair and balance. BBC is a public service broadcaster where there are supposed to be rules where balance. Where's the balance in the Nolan show?
There's nowhere. It ain't there. It ain't there.
That's straight out of the Fox News.
What can the guy do? Sometimes, Pat, sometimes we see conspiracies or bias, which can be explained not by bias, but simply by availability. Here's my view. Nolan, the big thing Nolan wants is to have guests on who will then provoke the switchboard to light up. He wants people to get worked up by the people he invites on. So if he thinks that Jimmy Bryson will do it, if he thinks that Jim Allister will do it, they'll be invited on. Not necessarily, because Nolan, comes from a unionist background himself. Maybe it's just simply he wants to have a show that's going to get people up and shouting and spitting and clawing. You don't think so?
Yeah, no, except...
Would you let him off with that, or would you say he's abusing?
No, I wouldn't let him off that. No. Your analysis is 100% correct as far as I can see. But Jude, that's missing the point in the sense of a public service broadcaster. There should be a notice on them to sort of have balance, no matter what way it comes out, whether the Sinn Féin or the DUP won't come on. But by the way, Jude, let's get this clear. Jim Allister, if you remember, Sammy Wilson got booed. Jim Allister had to go and rescue him. at a meeting about the protocol. That's how far to the right public opinion has swung. Jude, if you remember correctly at the start, what do you call her? Arlene Foster says, we can work with this protocol and we can see the benefits of it. How did it swing to the other way? I'll tell you how. Jamie Bryson and Jim Allister. I remember listening to Jim Allister on Talkback about the protocol. This is a sellout and the constitutional position is under threat. And this is the biggest threat to unionism since the founding of the state, etc., etc., etc. That was not what Arlene Foster was saying then. Look at it now.
Do you think, Pat, do you think that they're taking this hard line in the hope that the whiff of cordite, the danger of physical force being used, will frighten people so they pull back and make concessions to them with regard to protocol or anything else?
Well, even Paul Gosling, who we were talking to the last day, was sort of saying that we were frightening loyalism. Now, Jude, I know a farmer.
Who's frightening loyalism? Who's frightening?
That's this whole thing about bringing a border poll and yeah. Well, I know a Republican. Again, meet not that regularly, but I've met him every so often. And do you know what frightens me in a way? He says if they want to go for it, let them go for it. There's plenty on the other side. And that does frighten me, because this guy is not a fool. And I think he thinks we've waited long enough for this and we're not going to be intimidated. Now, I don't know how many think like him, and I hope there's not too many. I genuinely hope there's not too many. But that's what one side's going to get the other. And Jesus, Jude, I thought we had our 30 years of civil war.
I don't think too many people want that again. But I mean, it does seem that the irony of all this is that Sinn Féin and Republicans who were engaged in political violence packed it in and went into politics, which they were always urged to do. And they flourished. I mean, they're just about to become almost certainly the biggest party in the north, the biggest party in the south. They were urged to do that. The guys who are already in politics are doing so badly that they are beginning to make hints about violent reaction. Now, they haven't said that. None of them said that, but that's the fear that's at the back of the people in the South's mind, certainly, and in the mind of some people like ourselves, that it could come to that. I would hope that most unionists would have enough sense to see that if we're going to be talking, as Doug Beattie says, we're going to be talking about bread and butter issues. One of the most important bread and butter issues is to have no economic border in Ireland and to let it flourish and see how well it works. And when that happens, and I think this is what's really spooking the DUP, when that happens, people will say, what's the point in having two states side by side? Let's have them politically united as well. Is that optimistic? Am I a Pollyanna?
No, that's Paul Gosling's point as well. And Paul did a hell of a lot of research. And he said, when you take away the two civil service, the two police forces, the two, everything and the whole school system and so on, the German guy, the Hubner or whatever his name, he reckoned that after 5 years, there could be a 35 billion pounds economic surplus because of the wastage of having, of every system, of all the systems here were dovetailed into one.
Mm-hmm. Did you think that Paul, I suppose I didn't get time to talk to him as much as we like, do you think that Paul was being a wee bit excessive when he was saying that Sinn Féin were pushing too hard to get a border poll? That would be counterproductive.
Yeah, well, that's Paul's opinion. I presume there are others who might say, hey, wait a minute, it's totally legitimate. No, Paul makes a very cogent argument why he thinks so. No, I would say there are others in Sinn Féin saying, like, no, if not now, when?
And well, I'm not a member of Sinn Féin. I would say something similar. But I wouldn't want a border poll. This crap about a border poll tomorrow is driving me up the walls.
I don't think it should.
Would I be in favor of a border poll in 3 years' time, 5 years' time? Definitely.
Jude, here's, and I think you're on the same hymn sheet as I am on this one. See, before any border poll, get up the Citizens' Assembly, get the academics, get the political pundits, get everybody, have a clear, delineated line of this is what happens. We're going to change the Constitution. We might even change the national anthem. Do we or do we not rejoin the Commonwealth to give a comfort blanket to unions? I'm like, I don't know what anybody wants but have a clear line and say, in the event of Irish unity, here is the roadmap for that unity.
Mind you, Paul did point out one thing that I hadn't thought about, and that is if you were to say, well, let's have it as a kind of a federal state, the New Ireland, that with the present boundaries, Derry would still be cut off from Donegal, which really is going to impede both places. So it would be quite a complicated thing. Anyway, let's move to Micheál Martin for a wee while. Micheál was asked yesterday, was it, whether he thought that given the growth in cases in the south of COVID, maybe they should cut back, maybe they should reintroduce masking requirements and even working from home. And he said, no way, no way, no way. Now, I was listening to that, and then they got that guy, Dr. Luke
O'Neill.
Luke O'Neill. And he was speaking, they asked him, and he said the exact opposite. He said he favored a good idea to stay at home, good idea to be masked, good idea to observe social distance. Now, Fianna Fáil and the Fine Gael too, I guess, have always said that they were being led in their policies by the science, by the medical science. Now, the medical science is clear, and Luke O'Neill is saying more precautions, be fearful of this. We don't want our hospitals overwhelmed. And Micheál is saying, no, we're going to just keep on going where we're going. Do you think he's being foolish, or do you think he's being practical?
Dr. Collins, can I point one thing out to you? Micheál Martin said yesterday he was following the advice of the chief medical officer. Luke O'Neill is not the chief medical officer. Oh,
nice one. So the chief medical officer disagrees with Luke O'Neill.
And here's the thing. I think at this stage, the chief medical officer and all the politicians and all the rest of us, there's been so much damage done to the economy, and so all the different things. Those shops have closed that have never reopened, bars have closed, restaurants have closed, and so on. That we are just going to have to turn the ship around and face into the storm this time. Now, Luke O'Neill is saying, and I think he's probably right. He's been a very, very sensible man. That in public places, like on the buses, on public transport, and all the rest. And going shopping, we should wear masks. We should, if we can, work from home. We should be, and the usual washing our hands and whatever. The usual social distancing and so on, and so much as possible. But I think the government should, as far as I can see, are reluctant to go back there. We've had that, and it really, they're saying we wouldn't really need another inoculation. That's not going to work. People are just.
I'm relieved. I'm sort of relieved and sort of disappointed that Micheál is, after all, following the science then. If the head of the HSE said that he was quite right in his line of opening up rather than closing down, however, temporarily. But I still want to get a laugh out of Micheál, because Micheál was also asked, I don't know, who was it? Was it Claire
Byrne?
Claire Byrne on RT, I'm not sure, but
somebody asked he was on yesterday morning with Claire Byrne.
He was asked, the last question he was asked was, did he see himself leading Fianna Fáil into the next election? And he said, yes.
Yes.
So, do you know why I find that funny?
No, but you're enjoying it yourself. I can see that.
You know perfectly well why I think that's funny.
No, not at all. God, you tell me.
Are you concealing your own views? Well, all right, I'll tell you. Because the fact of the matter is that so far, Micheál hasn't exactly shone like a great light. He hasn't got the Beattie bounce with Fianna Fáil, so to speak. In 2 years, he will be playing the sub role of Taoiseach, not Taoiseach. And I don't just see Fianna Fáil's hopes and prospects raised if Micheál stays in harness. I can see why he wants to stay in harness. Of course he does. To get a whip of power, it's very hard to give it up. But I honestly think it's a kiss of death to Fianna Fáil. And I think there's too many people in there plotting against him who will say, Micheál's going to take us down to another disaster like 2008. And he may want to go down, but I don't want to go down. So we're going to have somebody else. by that time also too, we're talking about the border poll all the way. At that time, Fianna Fáil will have to have come up with something a lot more radical than the shared Ireland thing. So that's my view. Now, what's your view? Let's hear you. Open up. Tell the truth.
But you left out a couple of things there. Number one, right. I know there's one thing. There's a tide in the events of men. Isn't that Shakespeare said that?
Tide in the affairs of men which take up the floodgate on to greatness.
Not good for you. I knew you were an English teacher years ago. But the bottom line of all that was that Jim O'Callaghan was on an absolute ascent. Oh, he was going up the way, all the way, and Fianna Fáil and so on. And Micheál, for some reason, managed to stick in there, and Jim has now peaked, and he's gone down the other side. So there's no natural knife wielder in Fianna Fáil to get rid of Micheál, and he's sort of safe, because even Barry Cowan, whom he sacked after about 2 days as a minister, said yesterday, or was quoted yesterday as saying, there's no real heave against or no real plotting against Micheál Martin. Remember, Jude, when Andy Kenny was there was a heave against him, and it was led by Richard Bruton. They thought, this wee Enda is a wee lightweight. He wasn't even appointed to the cabinet during Garrett Fitzgerald time, and he's a nobody, and so on. And he just got in by the back door because there's nobody else available. And now here's our knight in shining armor. What do you call him? Richard Bruton, and big Phil Hogan for absolutely destroyed it in about 3 hours. And Enda was never touched the rest of his time in office. I think Micheál Martin's reached that stage.
Come on. You don't believe that?
No, I don't. I don't rate him at all. I don't. But I think I don't see anybody in Fianna Fáil. Barry Cowan's gone. Jim O'Callaghan's gone.
What do you mean they're gone? What do you mean they're gone? There's a bunch of TVs sitting in the doll.
But they've lost their impetus.
Okay, here I'll tell you what I think they've lost. They've given up the center stage, but they're in the wing sharpening their knives. They're winning their time. I nearly take money on that there will be a real concerted heave between now and the next election to remove Micheál Martin.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about that. But hey, Micheál has position right now.
Right now, yeah. But this is like a border poll tomorrow. I'm not saying that he's going to go tomorrow. I'm saying he has said in 2-3 years, in 2 years or 3 years time, I'll be leading Fianna Fáil into the next election. Now, the fact of the matter is, the economy is not going to get better or sufficiently better, I don't think, from all the winds that have blown against it inside that time. And a lot of people, rightly or wrongly, are going to say, bloody Micheál Martin was part of that. Get rid of him. And Fianna Fáil, bunch of you losers.
Well, yeah, you're probably right, but but the that momentum that was going Jim O'Callaghan's way, and at one stage he was odds on, and so on. But Jim is now. There's I think the tide of men passes, and some people just.
Well, don't forget, Pat. Tide doesn't just come in once; it comes in regularly.
I'm right. Okay, Jude, go and tell me. If Jim O'Callaghan's passed it, who does the torch pass to that's going to take over?
Well, you see, you're working on an assumption that Jim has passed it. I don't believe he is. I don't think Barry Cowan has passed it either. I think both of those guys have got ambitions, and they're staying quiet. And the fact that they're not shouting doesn't mean that they don't have plans. And except Micheál Martin, I honestly think, except Micheál Martin was to do much better than he's doing so far. Except the economy in the South was to somehow surge above all the buffeting and inflation and all the bad things that are coming its way. No, it's not Micheál's fault, but he's going to be, him and Leo are going to be the guys at the helm when it's happening. I think they'll both suffer from it. It's almost impossible to think that they wouldn't, but maybe
Dr. Collins, remember that was Macmillan says, events, dear boy, events. Well, if the war in the Ukraine ends shortly and things get back to normal, and suddenly they were even talking a couple of weeks ago about the southern economy growing by someone, Jude, I'm making this up, but something like 6%, which was very impressive. And so on. Like
they were doing that. They were saying that.
Yeah,
I'm not saying
I'd say that fuel prices and various other things now are put a big dent in that. But Jude, say the war ends in the next say 2-3 weeks, and then suddenly the gas is turned on again and then the whole rebuilding project goes on in Ukraine, and suddenly there's all sorts of money and stuff flying around again. It's amazing how quick fortunes can turn.
Yeah. Oh yeah, if that happens, Pat, yes, I would change my mind completely in terms of his possibilities. But I don't think as well. I could be wrong. I'll just say the last thing for a laugh. Okay. Tell me what roughly, offhand, what percentage of the people in the South would be in favour of the South of Ireland joining an EU army?
I'd say less than 10%.
Okay. Who's hinting that we've really got to look again at neutrality? Micheál Martin. No, Micheál Martin has said it. He said we've got this. One of these things we've got to have a look at. Of course, we're a neutral country. He really meant the state, of course.
Yeah.
I know we're a neutral state, but we do have to look at this again in the light of the terrible things.
Well, Leo Varadkar has said it very publicly. Now, I wasn't aware that Micheál had gone down that line.
He definitely was. Yeah. Well, he didn't say he wanted it, but he said we need to look at it again. That's code for.
I think Leo was gone a bit further. Well, in fact, gone a lot further than that. He's basically saying neutrality is no longer an option because of a lot of things that are going on. That's basically what he said.
So that sort of amazes me. Now, I mean, it may be that he believes that, and maybe that Micheál believes it. But I mean, politicians, their first duty is to be re-elected and to do well for the party.
Yeah.
And as you say, about 90% of people in the South would be opposed to Ireland.
Well, Jude, I've never. I am on the go a long time. I've never met anybody in my circle, and it's a fairly wide circle, who said we would like to join a European army. Not one.
I have the answer. I think I have the answer, Pat. I think I have the answer to this odd dilemma where obviously the vast majority of people don't want to be part of an EU army, and Leo's statements and Micheál's hints that we should be moving towards aligning ourselves with the EU in terms of an army. They got mixed up in the dates. They thought it was today, April Fool.
April 1st.
That's why they said it. They thought it was today. They got their dates mixed. That's all. The whole thing solved.
On that note.
Okay.
Okay.
Right, Pat.
Good luck,
Mind how you
Good
go.
luck.
Be careful.
Got to go.